Well, Michael Ellis is with us, who's an author, horse lover, and US Marine veteran who's with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for asking.
Now, this book that you've got is called A Horse Named Spirit, and it's actually a true story, isn't it?
Yes, it is. In fact, Spirit will turn 25 this August.
Wow. So is this about your own horse?
Well, we the first one that we bought when we moved to the South, then to
Mm.
Georgia, was a quarter horse named Stormy. She ended up being bred, and that's her offspring. So
Oh.
we've had her since she was a twinkle, not even a twinkle in her mother's eye, they
Hmm.
say.
So what made you want to write a book about this horse?
A couple things. Number one, um, the age group that I'm looking at is between um, 10 years old and 14, 15-year olds. They're very like a sponge at that age and love to read. When we when we used to train kids and adults on riding and how to take care of horses and stuff like that, um, there was always an interest, and I think there's still a
Mm.
big interest in horses now. So I
Yeah.
wanted to pique that interest with the book. The second thing is I'm a Vietnam vet,
Yeah.
and I do suffer the same as most vets, not only Vietnam but even in today's PTSD.
Mm.
And the book has helped me quite a bit with uh, handling my PTSD also. So it was
Yeah.
kind of a two pronged type of a therapy,
Mm.
if you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um, the book is done. It's kind of a little different. It's written as if Spirit is communicating his thoughts, his feelings, his ups, his downs,
Yeah.
when he's scared, etc., like that. Now, a lot of his first time he gets his feet trimmed, first time he's introduced to other horses, that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
there's 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 a little bit of comedy in there every now and then.
Yeah.
He uh, he has a very unique ability to pass gas, um, and it's very loud when he does it. So it kind of woke up the barn when he first did that. So
Mm.
it's got a little bit of everything. I was kind of surprised how many adults that have read it
Mm.
and enjoyed it also. So, you know, so it looks like my target audience has increased.
Yeah. And in what way do you feel it's helped you with your PTSD? Is it just that thing of writing about the horse's ups and downs that is maybe cathartic?
Yeah, I think writing period, um,
Mm.
you're able to get kind of memories and stuff like this, nice memories instead of
Yeah.
the other avenue. I finished the second book, which that'll be coming out early next year,
Ooh.
and that one is about my horse. This Spirit is actually my wife's horse,
Yeah.
but so you know, I guess it helps with the emotions portion.
Yeah. And do you feel it's quite important to have some comic relief in there as well? Because you don't want it to be straight up ups and downs the whole time, do you?
Exactly, exactly. Um, there's some scary scenes
Yeah.
that happened the first and second night after he was born in the barn and stuff like
Mm.
this. So they're scary. There's a little bit of there's humor, that kind of stuff. And,
Yeah.
and and for the most part, truthfully, that's what horses basically, um, even the same as like humans. They evolve. They go through the different um, thought processes.
Yeah. How much of the story is true? I mean, is it all true, or did you have to maybe make up a few things for
Um,
dramatic effect and whatever?
Oh, not really. If I had to put a percentage, I would say
Hmm.
probably 90, 95, about 90% of it is all actual activities that happened. Uh,
Well,
First time on a trail ride, even
hmm.
though he wasn't being ridden at the time.
Yeah.
Um, so for the most of that, almost like I say, about 90% of the story is actually true
Hmm.
events that happened.
Yeah. And how do you decide, that tiny percentage of stuff that you're going to make up? Is that a hard decision to make, or do you feel that it's, necessary that it can't all be true?
I think it was necessary. Um, as he's gotten a little bit older, well, actually, when he started, I think he was in his late teens.
Yeah.
Um, he started to run into what they call calcification, and his well, it'd be a P2, which is the lower portion of his leg, which
Mm.
is now restricted on riding and stuff like this. So he's retired, but I
Yeah.
wanted to continue a little bit more into the story, so I had to add a little bit of that.
Yeah. And what would you say it is about spirits that is so special?
I think the biggest thing is probably um, all horses are special.
Mm.
Okay, and that's what I kind of wanted to get the readers to kind of understand. To me, of course, he's special because he's ours. So
Yeah.
that makes him, you know, to me, a lot of the things he's gone through unique. To be real, to be honest, it's probably about everything that any horse has gone through.
Mm.
He's had the luxury that he's never really had any. He's only had one family he's ever dealt with. Many
Mm.
horses, example, his mother. When we got his mother, she was 4 years old and she had five owners.
Wow.
So she moved all the way from way south Georgia, uh, traversing all the way up to middle Georgia.
Mm.
That's a lot of and not all the owners were evidently kind to her.
Yeah.
She's got a scar on her face that looked like somebody had beat her and stuff like that. So it it took a while with her to end up um, being able to trust humans.
Mm.
Spirit never had that issue. I mean, he's always had love his his entire life, but
Yeah. And how are horses, I guess, is your horse perhaps different from normal in terms of the way it interacts with humans because of the fact that it's only ever had one family? Is it more trusting?
I think exactly that.
Mm.
Um, our issue we actually had up until he was about not quite a year old um, was that he was always around dogs, cats,
Yeah.
chickens, humans. I mean, when he was born, he probably had 10, 12 humans all
Mm.
nestled around the stall where Stormy was basically giving birth to him.
Yeah.
So for a long time, Spirit was, for the most part, confused on if he was a horse, if he was a dog,
Mm.
if he was a cat. I mean, he
Yeah.
literally would play with the dogs, which is nice, but that can be kind of dangerous.
Mm.
You get say a 9 month old horse. He's roughly 600 pounds, 500 pounds at that age, um,
Yeah.
not knowing that he could hurt you, um, not meaning to, but
Mm.
thinking that he's playing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
mean,
That's an.
literally, he would run, jump. come running at you and stuff like that. And of course, he'd stop in time, but so we kind of had to throttle back uh, some of the activities on him because of that.
Yeah.
To get him to understand that he was a horse, he's not a
Mm.
dog. So
Yeah. It's interesting that there's no sort of species barrier there. I mean, as humans, we can play with dogs and cats and whatever, but we
right,
know they're a different species, whereas that seems to be different there.
right, exactly, exactly. And like I say, uh, all of that was because you know he's never known a, uh, a beating or miss, literally missing a meal.
Mm.
Um, he's a quarter horse, so he has a tendency to get kind of chunky. But um, he's and even at 24, he's still very affectionate to
Yeah.
humans. Um, I have right now he's a 22-year-old grandson, but when he was
Wow.
born, he'd crawl under, he'd be 3 or 4 months old. He'd be crawling underneath Spirit. We'd put him on his back and stuff like that, and he'd ride around uh,
Wow.
with a 4 or 5 month old baby on his back. So
Yeah. Wow. Are horses quite loyal as well, like dogs are? How loyal are they compared to dogs?
it's I guess the analogy is that basically it's the same. In
Mm.
other words, are all dogs loyal?
Most of them, I suppose.
And yeah, exactly. Horses are the same way. It
Yeah.
depends on how horses are raised
Mm.
and developed when it comes to loyalty. Um, every horse that we've had, uh, for example, going back to his mother, which is Stormy, um, it took it probably took 6, 7 months um, of working with her just to trust.
Yeah.
In other words, um, she'd been beaten, uh, and she had a very very tough life, and so she did not trust humans. So I remember many of the time my wife would take her out riding, and she'd come back, and my wife would be in tears, wanting to know if Stormy would ever trust her. And then all of
Mm.
a sudden, it was a light turned on, and I think it was after a trail ride that we had done, and
Yeah.
everything was uh, really trusting at that
Mm.
point. Um, when digressing, probably there were several issues. We had to tie her to a post to get to brush her and groom her and stuff like that, and she just freaked and snapped the post off.
Wow.
Um, after that barrier finally was reached, um, you could start doing almost anything with her. It took a while. I'm a trained farrier, and it still even took me some time for her to trust me to
Yeah.
to do her feed.
Yeah.
But then as she got older, and a lot with horses is the same way as also dogs. Um, with age comes more trust,
Mm.
you know, and also they settle down more. You get a puppy constantly jumping around and everything like that, uh, trying to nibble on you and and stuff like that. And a horse basically is the same thing. A problem is with a horse when they nibble, that really hurts.
Yeah. That's true.
That's more of a bite.
Yeah.
Um, but as they get older and they really start to understand the humans, and the humans start understanding the horse,
Mm.
basically, then you get run into that bond,
Yeah,
and that's what you look for.
that's true. I definitely wouldn't want to be bitten by a horse of
No,
all
no,
animals.
right, yes, yes, and so it you know it's a good book.
Yeah.
Like I say, I've really been surprised at how many adults have
Mm.
given me feedback, good positive feedback on the book. In fact, I'm at a book signing. I was at a book signing yesterday, and I have two today.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I sold out all my books yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, well, on Monday, I should say.
Yeah.
So I'll have to start taking orders today. But so the book has been going very good.
Yeah. And did you intend for adults to read it, or did that just end up happening by accident?
That's just, I mean, I expected, for the most part, adults buying the book
Yeah.
for, their kids, grandkids,
Mm.
and that kind of stuff. But like I say, what surprised me the most was how many of the adults gave me feedback that they really enjoyed reading the book, and that's why they were going to make sure that their kids were
Yeah.
uh, read the book. So
Yeah. And how do you decide when the story is finished? Because Spirit is still alive, of course. So how do you go, the story is done?
um, basically, I didn't. I mean, I could have wrote more. I could have written. Excuse me. I could have
Mm.
written more, um, but I wanted to, like I say, with the age group that I was working with. Okay, I
Mm.
didn't want to make 150 page or 175-page book
Yeah.
and have kids halfway through it says, I mean, their their span a lot of times is much shorter,
Yeah.
and so I left it to 84 pages, and it seemed, and I actually got a couple comments back that was ideal for their kids, because it kept their attention all the
Mm.
way to the end. As I
Yes.
think if I would have continued, I might have lost that audience.
Mm.
In fact, the second book, which is Thunder, which is the story of my horse, um, I have to actually I have to actually cut it short because right now I've probably got uh, about 95 pages.
Wow.
So I actually have two books on him. So that's how I decided where the book should end.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, he's deceased. So the second part of that book is going to be, for me, mentally wise, is going to be a much harder book to write.
Yeah. Is the second book a direct sequel from the first one?
Not a direct. I mean, Thunder was Spirit's mentor.
Mm.
Okay, so he had, for the most part, a lot of his life lessons he learned from Thunder. So um, it would be a sequel, but it's not really a sequel. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. Um, um, I had to take a little bit of imagination
Mm.
because I didn't get Thunder until he was about roughly about 3 years old. So I still wanted to start him as a youth.
Yeah.
Um, so I have some of my original artwork that I did in the beginning of that, um, knowing basically the region and where he was born. I was able to kind of conjure up my imagination of what probably the barn looked like that he was born in, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then using my what I know for training horses and basically humans that have horses, I was able to kind of write that portion until actually when we went to down to Alabama.
Yeah.
Actually, we went there to look at another horse for a customer at the barn,
Mm-hmm.
and this pain in the butt horse kept on bugging me, and so we finally, after we decided on which horse we were going to get for the customer, the owner basically looked at me and says, "Well, are you going to buy that horse?" And I said, "Well, I really didn't come here to buy a horse. I mean, I didn't even bring a checkbook with me." Not a problem. He handled writing the check, and I paid him back. But so it's kind of a sequel, but it's not. And like I say, I had to cut that book kind of short because of the length of it.
Yeah.
And that book, it's complete. I've gotten several friends and everything like that. One say that I should release it for Christmas. The other ones say, no, wait till next year because you want to see what Spirit does at Christmas sales. So I'm not really sure which avenue I'm going to go, but the second book will be just as good as the first book.
Yeah, a horse is certainly the best impulse buy you could get, I think.
Exactly. In fact, my first book signing, which, like I say, was Monday night, I ran into quite a few people. Oh, my grandkids will love that,
Yeah.
And so they bought two, one for each grandkid.
Yeah.
And like I say, I think the audience I have, there's a lot of children's books that are out there.
Yeah.
But what I've seen, it looks like that young adult group somewhat kind of missed. Everybody wants the fairies and the goblins.
Yeah. Yeah. And after the second book, are there plans for even more after that one? Even if it's not, direct sequels, it could be something completely different.
Like I say, after the second book will be the third book, which will still be about the continuation of Thunder.
Yeah.
And that's the one I'm having kind of difficult because that, from an emotional standpoint, that will take him up to. And I'm not sure how I handle that because we end up losing Thunder. But I probably I'll have to use my imagination. I mean, we've got several other horses. Right now, we've got 4 horses and we got 2 donkeys. For equines. I might move on to what we call the boys, which are I've got 2 donkeys, and they're kind of very comical. So I might diverse and go something on the top.
Yeah, sounds interesting. Well, in the meantime, where are all the places that your new book, A Horse Named Spirit, is available?
Well, Amazon is the primary, and then Barnes and Noble and Google Books. Those are primarily the big 3 that I have right now. There's works. Amazon is working on another facility, they've told me, which is Ingram Sparks. I'm hoping that will be done because I've gotten several bookstores that have asked about that. And of course, there's issues with Amazon versus them. So, but the main, like I say, the main ones would be Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Google Books.
Great.
And they can order through my website, which is TH Farrier, FARRIER, author, AUTHOR.com.
Great. Well, many thanks for joining us on the show. It's been very interesting to have you on.
Thank you, Toby. Have a good day.